Well, the temperature might be starting to drop outside, but it's the Tuesday after a game day, which means that it's time for my weekly edition of your Commanders' 5 Hot Takes. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to discuss the big and bold predictions that I'm going to lay out for the Commanders going into Week 11. The boys are somewhere up there in the skies. Actually, they might have already landed, but they were flying over to Spain, flying over to Madrid. First time the NFL will be playing a game there. And there's a lot of change going on. You don't need me to rehash that Joe Whitt Jr. was demoted. He will still be up in the booth, but it will be Dan Quinn taking over as defensive coordinator, calling more plays, presumably being more hands-on in practice. And that is one of the main headlines going into this game. Forget the fact that Jayden Daniels isn't available. Forget the fact that it seems like we're setting a record for injuries. Forget all of that stuff. Forget that we might have a top 5 pick in the draft. There's just so much going on with this Commanders season. And when there are all these storylines circling in the air, everything is percolating, it makes it difficult for me to come up with my 5 hot takes. But guys, I have done my best for you all. So before we get to them, if you appreciate the video, the content, the series, the daily uploads, anything at all, make sure you do hit the like button. And also to the new viewers, hit the subscribe button as well. Go to the comment section as we go through these. Leave me your thoughts on the hot takes. And finally, don't forget to join the Full Command Discord. Link to do that at the top of the description. Get doing monthly giveaways. Every month, you get opportunities to hop on stream with me and some other Commanders guys as well. So a whole lot of fun to be had there. But let's not wait anymore. Let's go ahead. Let's get it started. Let's get it rolling with the 5 hot takes.
We need to draft a receiver in the first round.
So you'll notice the thermometer, the temperature gauge is low on this one. And that's because this is a cold take. We should not do this. Now, let me make this very clear. There is a need for receiver. Because if we look at the roster right now, it's Terry McLaurin, who just got injured for the first time and it ruined his season. How's he going to perform next year when he will be turning 31 after a month? No idea if Devo's going to be back here. He'll be 30. He's a physical player whose body probably going to break down quicker than other players at his position. Don't know if Noah Brown's going to be back. Don't know if Noah Brown still exists. Don't know if Noah Brown is still alive. No clue. Would assume he's not going to be back on the team anymore. Luke McCaffrey, who's never had to shoulder large responsibility and is coming off of a broken collarbone or will be coming off of one next year. And then Jalen Lane, who comes up with some nice catches and also drops the easiest passes you've ever seen and is a great returner who happens to fumble on returns. So that's the receiver room you're looking at. Also keep in mind here, the receiver options in free agency are not good at all. If we run through the list like a family, we'll see names like Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers, Tutu Atwell, De'Ami Brown, Hollywood Brown, Juwan Jennings, DeAndre Hopkins, Adam Thielen, Khalif Raymond, Jahan Dotson, Greg Dortch, Rashid Shaheed, Keenan Allen, Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick, Jamal Agnew, Alan Lazard, Elijah Moore, Zay Jones, Wan'Dale Robinson. These are the names that are out there in free agency. So I get it. Our receiver situation is dire and it doesn't look great, but this is why it's important for me. At least I think it's important for me. I'm not football Jesus, but this is why it's important for me to at least get my opinion out there. The top receivers in this draft, your Mekhi Lemons, your Jordan Tysons, your Denzel Bostons, your Carnell Tates, whoever you want to look at, they are not even in the same echelon as these top defensive prospects, in my humble opinion. When's the last time that the Commanders had a true takeover game changer on defense? I think the knee-jerk reaction is probably Ryan Kerrigan, and Ryan Kerrigan was really good. Was he outstanding? And I'm not trying to talk down on a man, especially he's doing a nice job being our coach right now. Love Ryan Kerrigan, who's not a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. London Fletcher, couple good years of D'Angelo Hall, LeVar Arrington, Arakpo. The last player to truly be at that Defensive Player of the Year level, in my opinion, the takeover player was Sean Taylor. And in my opinion, There is a Sean Taylor in this upcoming draft. He wears number 2, and he plays at Ohio State. His name is Caleb Downs. I don't know if Downs will be on the board when we pick, but a lot of mock drafts seem to think he will be. More importantly, my number 1, the guy at the top of my wish list for the Commanders draft, Arvel Reese. I believe that's Micah Parsons. What they say, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Arvel Reese is Micah Parsons in sheep's clothing, except he's not really wearing sheep's clothing. He's just not Micah Parsons because he's not in the NFL yet. He's not getting paid $47 million a year yet. But I think Arvel Reese is that dude. You can play on ball. You can play off ball. You can put him at edge. He could do basically anything he wants to, and he'll be an all-pro. I think he can rush the quarterback like Micah. I think they could have him go to 3 technique or drop off the ball sometimes like you see the Giants do with Abdul Carter. I think there are guys like that. I haven't even mentioned Ruben Bain or Keldrick Falk or David Bailey, some of these other guys, Uyunglele. And those guys are lower on my list. But point being, if you can get Bain or Reese or Downs, these are guys that will be first-team All-Pros. That will be Defensive Player of the Year candidates. Downs, it's been a long time since I've seen a college football player that freaking good as Downs. So we need a receiver. But you draft the best player available. And if you can match it to a position of need, if Arvel Reese is there, it's perfect because we need a linebacker, we need an edge rusher. He's both of them in one. And in my opinion, if I had the first pick in the draft, I'm taking him for the Commanders. Let me make that clear. If you told me I have the first pick and I have to draft, I am taking Arvel Reese because I think he's the best player in this draft. I think he's better than Fernando Mendoza. I think he's better than Ty Simpson, whoever you want to throw out there. So a world in which the Commanders have that MVP level player on offense with the Defensive Player of the Year level player on defense, that's a world I want to live in more than let's force this pick. Let's go get a receiver because we feel like we need to draft a receiver. Great player, Jordan Tyson. Great player, Mekhi Lemon. Not those other guys, though.
Old age caused our injuries.
This is another cold take, guys. Well, let's stop kidding ourselves. These are the ages of the Commanders players who are either out this weekend or are on injured reserve. 24, 30, 30, 29, 25, 28, 25, 31, 25, 23, 29, 29, 24. That's an average age of 27.1, which is below our team's average age of 27.7. There are as many players below the age of 28 that are injured as there are above the age of 28. 6 on either side, and then you got one guy at 28 in the middle. You know, if we run down the roster, yes, Austin Eckler is injured. Yes, Dietrich Wise is injured. Yes, Will Harris is injured. Yes, Terry McLaurin is injured. How about our oldest players on the roster still being healthy? Bobby Wagner is still fine. Zach Ertz still got 2 legs under him. Laramie Tunsil is fine. And what about all the young guys? If age is to blame for the injuries, Jayden Daniels, we got to get him a walker. Luke McCaffrey, yeah, he needs a cane. Treylon Burks, oh my gosh, we might as well put him down. His time is clearly coming. Dorance Armstrong, yeah, so old. Trey Amos, Marshawn Lattimore, Ali Cajo, all these guys with AARP memberships, all these guys on retirement and benefits. Not saying age isn't a problem, okay? Don't get me wrong here. It absolutely is. Age is the reason we look so slow and sluggish, but it's not the reason our players are getting injured. I've seen some people say, hey, maybe strength and conditioning needs to be considered here. And you know what? You could be absolutely right. But I don't know, and you don't know because we're not there. We have no clue. What I can say, and this is something we actually have evidence of, is perhaps there is a disconnect between the medical staff and the coaches in the front office. There's some sort of breakdown in the chain of communication there because Dorance Armstrong had a hamstring injury, comes back when it's sore after not practicing for a couple of days during the week and then tears his ACL the next game. I responded to someone's comment about this and I said, I need to see more information to find out if those two are related. Well, I looked at WebMD and some other sources and it says, yes, it is actually a cause between them. There was something like hamstring strength decreased 15% in that puts more tension on the knee, and that can lead to an increase in knee injuries. Go read it for yourself. I'm not a doctor, but point being, there was a link there. And that also doesn't mean it did cause it, because we never know, but it is a possibility. What we do know is they botched Noah Brown's IR situation. We know that Terry, I think they missed the window by 1 week with Terry, right? If they didn't, it was right on the 4 weeks, and then he comes back, and in his first game back, it's re-aggravated. So now he's missing more time. And I tell you what, the way this is going, he's already out for this weekend, so that'll be 3 games. If he doesn't play against Denver, that would be 4 weeks, and they would have mishandled that situation as well. So, bottom line here, there's a lot of factors at play for these injuries. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Do we need to get younger? Yes. Did old age cause our injury epidemic? No. And the numbers prove that.
Thanks for your service.
All right, now we're starting to heat up a little bit. This is officially a lukewarm prediction, because exactly what I'm wondering here, and I call this thanks for your service, because normally when you hear someone say that, you're speaking to a current or former service member, military member, and it's very you made a sacrifice, right? Whether it was the worst case scenario, which is your life, or time away from your family, or just whatever, you suffered an injury, whatever it might be. Thanks for your service is symbolic. It's a gesture. You served, right? So these players, I'm going to name them out: Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Terry McLaurin, Marshawn Lattimore, Dorance Payne. For this take to come true, I'm saying all 5 of those guys are not on the roster next year. I think it's very likely a majority of them, which means at least 3 of the 5 are not on the team. I'm leaving it at warm because I don't know if all 5 will not be on the team, but let me run you through them. So Bobby Wagner, Hall of Famer, gold jacket, incredibly grateful for what he did during his time here. Do not see them bringing him back. Zach Ertz, same thing. He's just old. It is what it is. Terry, can of worms there, because he's got the contract, and this is the thing. While the Commanders would probably it would make the most sense for them to hold on to Terry, get another year out of him before his cap hit increases, his trade value is also going to diminish with every passing year, and whatever team wants him is also going to know, hey, we're about to enter the final year of his contract before that cap hit basically doubles. So if we want Terry and we're in win now mode, this is the time to do it. I don't know what the feeling inside the building is with Terry. I have no clue. There seems to have been some sort of vibe separation between last year and this year. Is that a result of Terry, or is it not? No clue. How did he handle his offseason program? How is he handling his rehabilitation program? I have no idea. Do they have confidence that he's going to be a game changer when he's on the field next year? I have no idea. Terry's probably the biggest question there. I added Marshawn Lattimore there, and I would also be surprised if he's back, because the team has the potential out. And with him playing poorly and then suffering this torn ACL, I'm going to assume they just cut him and they eat the penalty for that. Dorance Payne, how do they feel about him? Probably your most attractive trade asset that you would be willing to part with. A guy who you could trigger, you have an option, you could trigger that and keep him around next year. But if you do that, you have to pay, I think, $28 million against the cap. This is a guy who just got suspended for punching someone, and that is a consideration that the front office will make when they go to review the stuff in the offseason. So these 5 players, Wagner, Ertz, Payne, Lattimore, and Terry, all guys who have been blamed at different parts of the season for things not going great, all guys who have served, going back to that, how I opened this, served, Wagner at 36 years old, 35 years old, Ertz at 34, Terry having been the face of the franchise, Payne being one of our longest tenure guys, and then Lattimore being a veteran in and of himself, having a very high profile when he came here, and now having the torn ACL. All 5 of these players have served in some capacity, but I also think it's possible all 5 of them are gone next year. And if you want to shake the can up, these 5 guys they represent a large portion of the franchise. So doing that, you move on from that, that would be Adam Peters declaring a new era has arrived.
Proving the haters wrong.
I understand that it's trendy to pick on Josh Conerly Jr. What do you mean? What do you mean he's not Lane Johnson? What do you mean he's not Penei Sewell at 21 years old? Why would you draft him if he's not Joe Thomas? Why would you? Why he's not Trent Williams? Why would you draft him, guys? Let's be realistic. The 21-year-old who played 2 years of college football, who every evaluator said play strength isn't quite there yet, gonna need a couple of years in an NFL weight program. Everyone knew the scouting report on Josh Conerly. Adam Peters knew it. Cliff Kingsbury knew it. Dan Quinn knew it. Opposing defensive coordinators knew it. Opposing general managers knew it. Players knew it. Everyone knows. But I tell you what, he's gotten better as this year has gone on. He has never... Packers game it was a terrible game from him. But that notwithstanding, I've never looked at him and said, that's a liability. And even in that Packers game, I've never thought this guy is going to be nothing. He can't do it in his NFL career. You see the speed, you see the talent, you see the recognition, the determination. He's got a great head on his shoulders. And give him an offseason in an NFL weight room and watch what happens. I can't promise you Conerly's going to be an all-pro. I can't promise you he's going to be a Pro Bowler. I can promise you he will be a lot better next year than he is this year. He just turned 22 years old. When you look at the experience that he racked up in the first 3 weeks of his NFL career, also, while we're using Conerly, this is to the anti-Adam Peters crowd. While we're using Conerly to fuel our agendas, that Adam Peters doesn't know how to draft, and he should have taken Jihad Campbell, he should have taken Josh Simmons, he should have taken this person. So we're just going to crap on Josh Conerly. Go watch the film from the game he just played. He and Laramie Tunsil held Aiden Hutchinson to 2 pressures, which is the lowest in his career since week 6 of 2023. Conerly gave up 1 pressure the entire game. He was awesome. He's only going to continue to get better. The way this front office has structured itself, they've made it very clear. We are largely drafting off of potential. We are not taking the best player on day one. We're doing things like looking at athletic profiles. We're taking into account who has leadership qualities, who is a captain, all these things that make you better suited for the long term. So give Conerly the time he needs to develop and stop chasing him out of the door when our general manager has his eyes set on the future. He did not have them set on today. He did not have them set on yesterday. He has them set on 2028. So act accordingly.
Overreactions are coming.
I genuinely cannot wait for this. So let me start by making my position very clear. I don't think Joe Whitt Jr. did a good job this season. I did not have much of a problem with situational play calling or scheme for the most part. My issue was always, from what I can see on the field, I am inferring that whatever teaching is going on the practice field was not up to par, not up to the standard. Players weren't understanding what positions they were supposed to be in. They didn't know how to check calls. They didn't know the alignments. They didn't know how to communicate with their teammates during games. And that's why you saw players yelling at each other, looking at each other confused. That's why you saw players running scot-free in coverage. That's why running backs were running into wide open holes. Things like that. To me, it all boils down to the message is not getting across. And when you are a coach, Joe Whitt Jr. could be the smartest guy in the world. If he can't teach it to someone, much less multiple someone's, an entire defense, that's where it falls on him. So that's my stance with Joe Whitt Jr. I would be really, really shocked if the defense did not play better this weekend with Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator. However, that has basically nothing to do with Dan Quinn. And this isn't a diss to DQ either. The Dolphins offense sucks. It's just, they have a bad offense. Now, I know they got rolling against Buffalo. Tua still threw 2 egregious interceptions. I know they were rolling against the Falcons, but they also lost to the Ravens 28-6 in the midst of that. So if we're looking at teams the Commanders have played recently, over this last month, if we look at EPA per play, which is the best offensive measure that we have for effectiveness, you've got the Chiefs 2nd, you've got the Lions 5th, the Cowboys 6th, and then the Seahawks 10th. So those 4 teams all in the top 10. The Dolphins, you want to scroll down, you find them at 24th. So we're we need to play better. If we lose by 21 plus again, if we give up another 500 total yards, my head's going to explode. But I am fully expecting the defense to play better. When we come out of the bye week against the Broncos, Bo Nix has not had a good year. The Broncos are 8-2. They've won 7 straight, I believe. It's because of their defense. And Bo Nix had a good fourth quarter against the Eagles, a good fourth quarter against the Giants. And I just realized it's the NFC East, and a good game against the Cowboys. Other than that, that's 2 quarters in 1 game. I think he was good against the Bengals. So if they've played 10 games, he's been good for 2.5 of them, and he's played 7.5 bad games. So after the Commanders go on the road, assuming they play better against the Dolphins, they come home for a bye week. They get to rest. They get to lock back in with one another. They get to patch up any holes that exist. They get to self-scout, see what their weaknesses are. When they come back against a bad Broncos offense, they should look good there too. And then on the road against the Vikings, I call the Vikings the best coach team in football, but I also don't really respect J.J. McCarthy. And after that, you've got the Giants, and Russell Wilson might be playing because Jackson Dart gets concussions every other game. So we're not facing another great offense really until the Cowboys, and even the Eagles offense. They're explosive, but they have one of the highest 3-and-out rates in NFL history. So for the rest of the year, if we're to assume DQ takes over as coordinator, the numbers should get a lot better. It would be a travesty if they don't. But that's not going to tell me anything about DQ or anything about Joe Whitt Jr. What will is if players are in the right position, if they aren't over pursuing gaps, if there is more desire, if they are finishing plays better. That's what tells me about Joe Whitt Jr. more so than, oh, hey, we allowed 14 points today. Everything must be fixed. Joe Whitt Jr., by the way, we don't say anything about him holding the Chargers to 10 points, but his defense holding the Chargers to 10 points. But that's another conversation to be had. The thing that's the most curious, the most puzzling about all this is the timing of the demotion. Because I've heard people say that Joe Whitt Jr. was a friendship hire of Dan Quinn, right? And Dan Quinn just didn't want to bite the bullet, didn't want to take him out back because he was his friend, and that's why he waited so long to make this move. Well, the timing of this could not be worse for Joe Whitt Jr. because, like I said, he let Whitt face those powerhouse offenses for a month straight with no help, at least public-facing help. He makes the change before we play a terrible defense. We go into the bye week, which, if you're going to fire somebody, you normally do it during the bye week because you can scramble and find a replacement. And let's say Whitt keeps his job as whatever he is now. I don't know if he's a pass game coordinator, a DB's coach like he was in Dallas now. Who knows? But coming out of the bye week, like I mentioned, we're not going against great offenses. So I think DQ is going to go into the bye week looking better than Whitt, and come out of it looking better than Whitt. So the timing of it for everybody who talks about DQ as being so loyal to Joe Whitt Jr., I agree he's loyal, but propping him up, not wanting to have the conversation, friendship hire, all of that, he could not have picked a worse time to make this move for Joe Whitt Jr. So you guys tell me what it is. I don't think it was intentionally selfish. but it is going to paint Whitt in a bad light. The only way Whitt comes out of this looking better is if the defense continues to be awful. If we give up 30 points to the Dolphins, we lose by 21 points again, we come out of the bye week and Bo Nix has a 300-yard, 3-touchdown day, that's the only way Whitt comes out of this looking fine, and that's unlikely to happen. And realistically, what options are there for Whitt? How often does someone get demoted from coordinator and then promoted back to the coordinator role? Whitt is on borrowed time, just looking at it logically. Whether they're thinking about firing him during the bye week, whether they're thinking about firing him at the end of the season, he's on borrowed time. Because is he going to accept a demotion and want to be here as a pass game coordinator again or whatever it was? Would the team want that? Would they be looking to move on? I don't know. But the overreactions, I'm already prepared for them. This proves Joe Whitt's an idiot. Dan Quinn is a genius. He saw the defense. We need to hire Dan Quinn as our coordinator and get a head coach to replace him. It's coming, and I can't wait for it. So, guys, that's going to do it for this video today. Controversial takes, I get it. It's called hot takes, okay? They're not all meant to be agreeable. So if you disagree, that's totally fine. That's the whole purpose of this series. I want you to go to the comment section and let me know why your thoughts are, whatever they are. So I'm going to head out of here. If you enjoyed, even if you disagreed, but if you still got some entertainment value out of it, make sure you do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new around here. And once again, make sure you do join the Full Command Discord. We got the monthly giveaway going, get to talk during the games, all that great stuff. I'm going to head out of here, guys. I appreciate you all. As always, we're on the climb to 3,500 subscribers. So just appreciate you all being with me on the journey. But it's going to do it. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.